Okay, he's gone. So anyway, welcome. So glad to have you here in person, and have lots of questions about your movie and how it came to be and so on and so forth. Um, so, so I don't know if I should address this to Kay as a writer, or, well, both of you, because you both participated in writing. So how did this whole concept come into being for you, for the two of you?
Well,
Hey, do you want to take this one?
yeah,
Go
I was
for it.
gonna say this concept is like it's part, actually it's the reason we're friends, um, which is that when we were in film school, I was in the writing program, Prarthana was in the directing program, and one of the things I had to do in my writing program was write about an urban legend. And everybody kind of just turned in their regular assignment, okay, I turned it in for the week, but I went like extra and I wrote this whole science lab scene, about this person sacrificing themselves for their friends so they wouldn't be outed, and it turned into this like short film. And Pratna ended up getting to read this short film and was basically like. The script for it, and was basically like, who's this Kay? I need to find her. And she basically acquired me as a friend based on just this writing sample alone. She's like, you are my friend. And so that's the origin of it. And when we got out of school, basically we realized, so we filmed a short version of it, she directed it, and when we got out of school we realized there was a much longer story to tell. And along the way also our main character went from being Caucasian to Indian, because as we went along, we realized that since we were going to customize it for a story for us to make one day, that we wanted that uniqueness in there. So basically, it's Pratna's way of making me her friend, and it's the nicest thing ever.
That's great. Pratna,
Yes.
you want to add to that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember when I read the short film, as directors, we got to read all the writers' short films, and then we pair up with the ones we like. And Kay's voice was just so original and funny, and it was from a women, or like a girl's point of view, and it really captured the way I felt, like, angry and confused and funny and awkward. And I was like, I'm so glad that there's another person like me that has that voice in the school. Like, we need to make things together. And I had never met her until then. I didn't even know who she was. And I asked my friends who were the writer, I was like, point Kay to me, where is she? And she drove this yellow Beetle, orange. And she had orange hair. And I was like, I like her. We're going to be pals. And yeah, I mean, we were so in sync with, like, really tapping into awkwardness, because in our own ways, we're very awkward people. And we embrace it. We love it. We love weird things. And we've been working together ever since.
Oh, that's great. That's a great story. Um, what were the challenges that you um, encountered in the making of the film when you expanded it from that one scene or that short film to the full length? What kinds of challenges did you encounter?
Oh, so many challenges. So just to give you the scope of things, we wrote the feature in 2009.
Maybe 10.
2010, yeah, okay, maybe 10.
Wow.
And it became a film. We directed it, and it became a thing in 2019. It was done in 2019. So you can imagine all the challenges of trying to get this movie off the ground.
Yes.
It was, so Kay and I wrote a feature, and, it was a semifinal, the finalist, the Nichols Fellowship. It won some other screenwriting competitions. People were interested, but, we also didn't have the connections or really know how to move things forward. So people were like, oh, this is really funny. What else do you have? And we're like, this is what we want to make, because no one really cared about a high school film with a female lead. And then obviously we decided to make it even harder by making her a brown kid, and they were like, what is wrong with you people? No one's going to watch this, but we were really committed. We wanted to tell the story, and we felt like there was a place and there was an audience that is seeking stories like this. So we really kind of stuck it out. And then one day I was driving to work and I saw the tweet from Seton Spark about the Hometown Heroes competition. And it was like, Mark and Jay Duplass want to help you make your movie. And I texted Kay and I was driving with my husband, who's our producer. And then I texted Danny, who's our cinematographer. We're all friends from Chapman. And I was like, check this out. Should we do it? And they were like, yeah, let's do it. And we basically put a pitch together and just went into like, overdrive and joined the competition. We raised a whole bunch of money, which we had no idea we had the capability to do, and got the Duplass brothers on board. And it was so crazy because once all of those pieces fell in place, like in 2 years' time, there was a movie in the festival circuit. It's so crazy how things happen so fast once the ball gets rolling. I always joke, like making a movie, like it's like, finding your soulmate. Like the stars have to align. You have to be in the right place at the right time. You and that other person have to lock eyes. It was exactly like that. But all of these things happened. It was just like, boom, here's a movie. But until then, we were constantly hitting roadblocks, like all kinds of things, not able to get the movie off the ground. And I remember when I had the first production meeting with all these wonderful human beings who had assembled to help us make our movie, I got so emotional because I was like, this took us so long to get here. Like I'm so grateful to all of them who gave us their time and energy and helped us tell the story, because it took us a long time to get there.
Wow. Well, I'm certainly glad you hung in there.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm
Thank
sure
you.
other moviegoers feel the same way. And Kay, from your perspective, do you more to say on that?
I was gonna say, I think the lucky thing we had is in that time when we were waiting and trying out different things, and we were often running into people who found the script interesting and they liked it, but they were scared of having a young female protagonist in a very vulnerable situation. A lot of times when you see a teen movie, it's like, oh, she's cool, but she's gonna be the prom queen at the end. Like she'll, it's kind of safe, and she doesn't really win prom or anything by the end of the story. She just kind of comes out okay. And so a lot of people were afraid of, I think, how nuanced it was. And so the nice thing about the time we had is it did help us dig down and make everyone a richer character. All of the characters, even the side characters you see in Bindu's life, we've spent 9 years with most of them. And so, we knew a lot about them. We kind of knew what we wanted and didn't want. And so that time was, I think, well spent. And I think the best thing about it is we got to put, more being Indian into the story. And it got this wonderful, group of talent from Megan, obviously, as Bindu, and also Priyanka Bose, who plays her mother. And we wouldn't have had them if we had hit the ground running and it was 2010 and we were trying to go for it. So the wonderful thing is the time made the story better because we had more time with it.
Wonderful. Yeah. The cast throughout was just fantastic. Starting with the young woman who played the lead. First and foremost, I mean, she couldn't have been more perfect. I don't think, and then all of the people around her were just great. The high school kids. Where'd you find them? Now they couldn't have been hanging around you for 9 years because then they'd be in their 20s. So
Nope. Exactly. So we connected with this really great casting directors out of New York, Ali Bean and Daryl Eisenberg. They loved the script, and also having the Duplass brothers name on your film opens your film up to a much wider pool of actors. And I was very nervous about finding Bindu because I don't know, because you look at the television or film landscape, you're not seeing a bunch of Indian kids running around doing things, and I was like, where are we going to find this girl? Because this movie lives and dies by how good Bindu is. And we were actually very surprised by the pool of talent that we got to choose from. I mean, there were some really good young Indian female actors, but Megan just was on another level, she is so funny naturally. She is a very funny person. She gets humor and comedy. She says she's very awkward, and she definitely has her quirky, awkward side. And she's, again, someone who doesn't understand how pretty she is, so she's got that kind of awkwardness about her. And she was just such a joy to work with. And it was lovely for us to give her that experience of being the lead in a movie, to get to do such a range of things, including a Bollywood dance number. Like that was like a dream for her, you know. And she was not, she wasn't even 21 at the time. I think she was 19 or 18. And she got to travel for a movie and live on her own and like do all the things that like she always hoped she would do as an actor. So it was lovely to sort of see her have that experience on set. And she's such a professional. She's in every scene in the movie except one. And we put her through the ringer, you know, and because we filmed this movie in 18 days, she didn't have the luxury of like, you know, going in chronological order or whatever. Like we would shoot out locations. So if we were in a hallway, we would do the scene in the hallway, then she would go off to makeup, wear her outfit for dance, and then she would dance, and then she would change and then go to another scene where it'd be really, you know, serious or whatever. And she was such a trooper. Like she would just do it, you know, and it was wonderful. And, you know, all our other actors, like David Arquette is such a joy to work with. Like he just, you know, he's a star, and he came in and he did not want the limelight, and he just like sat back and did the role and let the kids have the floor, you know. And he would always come and tell me, like between takes, how impressed he was with everybody. He was just like, she's so good. Like he's such a wonderful, warm human being. It was lovely to have, you know, be able to direct someone who's a star, who's just so humble and kind and open. So we were very blessed like that. And all our other actors, like Philip Laves, is just brilliant. Like he's just a singular talent, you know. He's
And what role was
he played
Peter.
Peter.
Oh yes, yeah.
He's so like, he has such a sweet like tenderness about him, and he's a really good actor. Sam, Gordon Winterick, who plays Sam, is truly the nicest kid on earth, you know. Like he came to our premiere with his mother. He's so sweet and he's so gentle and kind. And I remember like when he watched himself at the screening, he came to me and he was like, that was really hard. That was very hard. And I was like, I know, I'm sorry. And I was like, but it was, you know, you did a really good job. Like he would always apologize to Megan after every scene. He's like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. They were gems, you know. We got very lucky.
Oh wow, yeah, they were just wonderful, just wonderful. Kay, do you have anything to add to that about the actors that?
Oh, well, I think you said a lot of it, which is just the nicest thing is the hard thing, and the nice thing is we ended up, since we're filming out of Indiana, we ended up grabbing a lot of talent from the kids in Chicago, which is really great because there's a lot of like theater kids. Like Rob came from Chicago theater. Like I think we were his first film, and he was super excited. And so we had a lot of kids that weren't necessarily even based out of LA. So that was really cool as well, because we had these New York people and Chicago-based people that were getting to participate and be in this, you know, Hollywood film, so to speak, and their excitement really shone through. I feel like they went the extra mile, because for them it was like, oh, this opportunity doesn't happen in my neighborhood all the time, and so everybody kind of just brought their A game, and it was really lovely. They've nothing but wonderful things to say about each and every one of them.
Yeah, that kind of showed to me. It kind of showed in the movie that these were just really good kids.
Yeah.
You know, really wanting to please and responsible and that kind of thing. Don't ask me why that came across. In another life, I was a teacher, and maybe that's where it showed up. What were the, so would you say that the biggest challenge in getting this thing made was getting the funding for it?
I think part of it was the funding, but a huge part of it was getting, you know, some of the gatekeepers to believe in it. Because it, you know, you can will a film into existence, but you need the support of, so to speak, a village, you know, to really rally around it. And I think, and everything is kind of connected. It's like when the village shows up, the money shows up. When the money shows up, the other people show up, and then everything happens. And it was like, it was just such a daunting task, because also, like, for a first film for all of us, this was not like a simple movie, you know. It was an ensemble piece, it was set in a high school, it was all kinds, it's like all the things you don't want to do in a movie, we were like, let's make that the first thing we do, you know. And it was comedy is difficult, you know, because you have to get the chemistry, there's really difficult topics we're trying to handle with humor, so it's accessible. So in many ways, I think it was really getting people to buy into the idea that this film needed to be made, you know, and it had to be made by people like us who were newbies in some sense, who had no real chops to show off. I mean, we'd made short films and we've been in the industry, but we didn't have a feature, you know. And once we got people to buy into the idea and believe in us, then it was, you know, it was smooth sailing from there. But it takes a while, you know. And you know, as female filmmakers and as people of color and everything, it's like you have that added like convincing you got to do, you know, where it's like, yes, you can handle it, you can do it, you're just not someone, you know, just woke up today and decided you wanted to make a movie, you know. You have to show them you've been at it for so long, you can handle it, you can take a film through. And there's just a lot of convincing, you know. Because when you get on set, you don't want to be doing that then. You want everyone to believe in the project, believe in the filmmakers, so we can go make the best movie we can. And I guess for us, it took that long to be able to get there, you know?
I just want to add, the other really difficult thing was finding a school. I think when we had filmed the short film, we had been very lucky because the school actually near, I think it was right across from our film school, Prarthana walked over one day and was like, I want to film here, and they let her. But when it came to filming a feature film, and especially after, I think there were so many school shootings and things like that recently, nobody wanted extra people on their school campus, and everybody was very concerned about the content. Every time I called up a school, they're like, is there a gun involved? And you know, lots of questions like that. And even then, there's a lot of hesitation to let strangers on campus with their students. They were very protective, understandably so. And so we spent, I think, since we got the funding to a month before it happened, trying to get a school. It took us almost until the day of filming that we were, you know, we knew where we were going to be.
Oh, wow. A little last minute.
Not for lack of trying. We ended up getting a school that was actually being shut down. We were the last people in the building. And because of that, they're like, basically they said, you don't have to, just please don't include the school's name, you know, for legal purposes. And they basically let us run free through the school. So it was wonderful set, and we lucked out so much. And it was thanks to actually the co-producers, Pegasus Pictures. They actually were on the ground in Indiana, and they basically told Prarthana, they're like, we're going to find a school. And we're like, good luck. We've been looking and looking and looking. And they're like, no, we're going to do it. And they did it. So we owe them everything for that school.
Yeah, what luck that it was empty and you could do what you want.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So in the 9 years that you were waiting to make this film, were you making other films? And were you making other films together?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've collaborated. Kay and I have been writing stuff and working on projects and things. I have a whole other day job. You know, it takes a long time to be able to, you know, be in a position where you can take off 5-6 weeks to go make a movie, because it's not like anyone's giving you a ton of money to do that, you know. So, and I, you know, for me and Kay, we both don't, we both are, you know, doing this on our own. You know, we both live in a city where we don't really have family. We have family now through like relationships and marriages and all that kind of stuff. But it takes a while to be in a position where you feel like, okay, I can give myself the permission to go take 5 weeks off and make a movie, you know. Those are all the kinds of challenges, I would say, you know. As part of all of that is like building your life in a way where you can allow yourself to go do that. And that also takes time, you know, to establish yourself and all that. So yeah, we've been doing things and stuff, but this is our first feature that we did together.
I do know Prarthana Upcoming has always talked about a horror movie. She's always like, Mom, let's write horror. And yes, I'm with you on it, but I'm terrified of horror. And so she's pushing me. She's pushing
We're gonna
me.
do it.
I know we're gonna do it. She looks at me and she's like, it's gonna happen. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay. So do you have anything coming up working on that you're currently working on, or?
Yeah, I am actually currently on a feature film that I'm directing. I'm in Arkansas, Bentonville, Arkansas. I go into first day of production on Monday. So please wish me luck. We're going to need it.
Oh, yes.
And then Kay and I are hoping to work on another project together very soon. And Kay has been doing a lot of really cool things.
Thanks for that transition. So after Bindu, I've been helping some other people with crowdfunding, and I'm producing a web series called My Human Experience about aliens coming to UCLA campus and having posing as humans and experiencing being human beings. So it's a comedy, and I'm helping with that. And then also I have a project I wrote and I would like to direct that's with the Sundance development track right now. I'm waiting, I'm in the second round, so I'm waiting to hear yes or no. And if they say no, well, it's happening anyway. So, and that's all about Postmates delivery drivers.
I'm sorry, it's about what?
Postmates, like the food delivery drivers.
Oh, okay. Yep. All right.
It's really good.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. And in this year of COVID, how has that, none of us are happy with it, but how has that impacted you as far as trying to make movies?
Well, for me, it's been a pretty strange year because during COVID, I actually wrote a script, which I think I may not have been able to do otherwise because I have an 1.5 to 2 hour commute every day to work, and in that time, since I wasn't driving anywhere, it gave me an 1.5 to 2 hours every day to write. So instead of sitting in a car and listening to podcasts, I sat down and wrote every day for 2 hours and was able to write a feature in that time that I hope to be able to go out and make in the next year or so. And then weirdly enough, I'm directing a movie in the middle of COVID. And that's so it's been strange for sure. And I think also our movie was in the film festival circuit, during COVID. So we were lucky enough to experience both. We had at least, I think, 5 to 6 festivals pre-COVID. So we got to go and experience that. And then we've done tons of festivals since then that have been in the online space. Yeah, and they're so different. But we're so grateful for all the ways in which festivals have been trying to adapt and find ways for us to connect with audience and still get our movies out. So we're so thrilled to be part of that and always grateful for, the support and all of that. So it's really, in a creative sense, not been a bad thing. After, the sheer panic and fear of everything that was going on, there's lots of horrible things about this time period. And I think it'll always go down as like, what on earth just happened? But I would say, I'm looking at the bright side. Like I got to spend a lot of quality time with my 4-year-old, with my husband, like really just like, trapped in the house. And I discovered that I actually really like them a lot. So that's been a positive, I don't mind being trapped in the house with them for 7 months straight. We actually ended up having a nice time. So I would say those have all been like the positives,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, just adding on that, I did do a quick shoot on set back in August, and nice thing about filmmaking during COVID times, and there's lots of not nice things, but smaller projects and indie projects with small amount of cast, that's really what's being made right now. And so you get a lot of people who, number one, wouldn't normally be available because they have other bigger projects they're normally doing throughout the year. And then you have a lot of people who want to work on your indie set because it's a small set and the transmission rates and the social distancing are easier. So not saying that there's a ton of positives, but the nice thing is you do run into a lot of people you want to work with that are available and that are willing to work on a smaller project. So this is kind of a time for independent movies, even as long as you're taking safety and precautions, because one thing that's required by SAGNY right now is testing every 2 to 3 days, which is fantastic, but it does mean from a production standpoint, like being on top of the ball and also making sure that people are following all of those social distancing guidelines.
Sure, for sure. Yeah. Where do you two live? Do you live in Indiana? Did I hear you say that?
We both live in California. I live
okay.
in like Los Angeles County, and she's in Orange County.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, basically, she's like a little north of LA, and I'm a little south of LA. So we're like LA. If it's a cookie, it's the cream filling.
Okay. All right. Let's talk a minute about funding, because funding is always a huge issue when making a movie, right? And so what has your approach to funding been, and what have you been successful at doing in that regard?
So for this movie was the first time I crowdfunded, and I also think it was maybe the first time Kay crowdfunded.
Yeah.
So when we were in grad school, there were no crowdfunding platforms. Kickstarter and everything kind of came just as we were graduating, so we didn't really have much experience. But we had seen friends who had raised money and through Kickstarter and things like that, and we saw what they were successful, the ones that were successful and the ones that were not. So we had kind of watched and studied these folks, and when we were going to make this movie, we knew we were going to crowdfund some portion of the budget, because it just helps you go talk to other people, and say, hey, we already have this much money. Now this is what we want, So we went to Seed and Spark. And to be honest, until this movie, I didn't know who they were. I'd only heard of Kickstarter and Indiegogo and all these kind of places, because that's where most people crowdfunded. And we love Seed and Spark. They're fabulous. They're so filmmaker focused. They give you a ton of training and tools and really kind of break down the process, which is daunting. Like raising money and asking people to give you money is a frightening exercise. But we embraced it. And for us, ours was a 24-hour thing, because we would raise money during the day with our contacts in like this part of the world. And then when they would go to sleep, India would wake up, and then we would be like going all out and trying to like connect with people on social media and all these types of things. So it was like a full-time job. And I remember after the first 24 hours, I texted Kay and I was like, this is nuts. Like, how are we going to do this? And then we actually came up with a schedule where she would do one half of the day, I would do one half of the day, because we couldn't do it otherwise. And both of us had jobs, we have families, and we were just like, and your phone is always pinging because like someone is given something, and it's like, by the end it was just like, whoa, this is too much. But we ended up raising a lot of money. We raised more than we expected. We raised, I think, $62,000 or $63,000.
Great.
I believe at that time was the most anyone raised on Seed and Spark. I think our record has been blown past since. And then it was, so once we had that money, and once we were, the finalists and we got chosen by the Duplass brothers, a lot of our other funding came from friends and family who wanted to invest in movies, but were willing to do it outside the Seed and Spark environment. So they gave us a little bit more bigger chunks of money, and we did sort of like point system and all of that. And then we partnered with our co-producers in Pegasus Pictures, and they kind of finished out our budget. But that was it was like a nail-biting finish, because we were going to go into production in July, and we didn't completely get all our funding until, I would say, like early June. So we were just like, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. And we filmed in Indiana, so we had a lot of things that were either free or at a low cost which was wonderful. The entire community embraced us. My husband is born and raised there, so his family and all their connections over the years, like people gave us cars for our crew, let people crash in spare bedrooms and guest houses. We got the house for free because she was high school friends with one of the producers. The school was like $700 or something, and we got the whole school. Or maybe it was more, I don't remember anymore. But people would drop off cookies. My mother-in-law's best friends would come to lunch and make sure everybody ate. It was like the sweetest thing. Like they would come and wait and come to each table and make sure everybody was eating, and it was like so cute. It was just stuff like that. People were offering, just doing runs for us, going and picking up things. Just like the whole town was buzzing with this. They sent their kids to be extras. So when we screened at Heartland, we sold out, I don't know how many screenings.
At least 3,
4.
Yeah.
Just sold out. Like we had lines around the block for tickets.
Oh, that's great.
For young filmmakers, like that was just like the greatest. I will live that moment out for the rest of my life. It was so awesome.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Kay, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, well, I think it made things a lot easier when it comes to financing. When you put you get the first amount in for your budget, because it shows, I highly recommend it for like crowdfunding or something. Even if you put in the first couple of $1,000, suddenly people sit there going, okay, I'm not the first person to believe in and invest in this project. And I think it made a lot of those people, then it was easier for them to say yes. It also really helps like jumpstart our socials, because the first thing people do now is they Google us and look on social media. They see the campaign, they see our Twitter, our Facebook, and so suddenly it doesn't feel like you're, throwing money out into a void, where we seem real. We are real, so that made it easy. But it definitely, I think it made people realize we were very serious about, getting it done and doing it and doing it ourselves. So I think that all came through by starting with crowdfunding. So I recommend that to a lot of people, even if it's not your full budget, just even getting some of that seed money to get things underway, get casting underway, just something to kind of dig your roots in.
Yeah, and I just want to add one thing. The thing that crowdfunding did for me, and I think Kay would agree too, was that we felt like we made a commitment to these people. That was my biggest apprehension about going crowdfunding. I was like, what if we never raise the money and we don't make this movie? Like, I don't want to be that person, But we had all these followers who would constantly be keeping up with us. They're like, what's going on? How's it going? And we had this commitment to, like, I think our final tally was like, we had 394 people who donated something to our cafe, $5 to like $1,000 or whatever. And we made it for them because they believed in us, and we would not let them down, and they're all waiting for our film to get released. Like they're all there with us. Anytime we post anything that I like, they descend on it and they're like, we're so proud of you and all that, So we're doing it for them, our first fans.
Yeah, for sure. And also I was interested in your description of what happened when you were filming in Indiana. What town were you in, by the way, in Indiana?
What time? It was summertime.
July.
Indianapolis.
Oh, Indianapolis. But really, it takes a village. You had all that support going on, and which is just wonderful to see or to hear about.
Absolutely. Like for me, my son was 2 years at the time, 2 years old, and my husband and I were both in the movie. He was the producer. So he got to stay with his grandparents and all his cousins and aunts and uncles and have like the time of his life, but we couldn't have done it otherwise, and even since, anytime we have to do a project, like family will fly out and help us, and it takes all of these people to allow us to go and do this stuff.
Sure.
It's impossible otherwise.
Yeah.
And Kay experiences the same thing. She has children and her family has to like figure out how all of this stuff works so that we can go off and do our thing, so it takes a village and it takes a lot of people helping us.
The perks are my stepkids are now adults, and so instead of having to take care of them like a 2-year-old, I now throw them in the movie as extras and side characters, and I'm like, haha, free labor. You have to because you know me. So there's that perk. Soon enough, Prarthana, you will have the ability to exploit Cyrus in that way.
Definitely.
Oh, golly. Our time is almost up. We have just a few more minutes because we have another group coming in after us here.
Sure.
So is there anything else that you would like to say to your audience about this movie or anything else in your movie life?
No, just that, we want to thank everybody who watched the film. We're always so grateful to film festival audiences because it's such a commitment to go and seek out movies in festivals. It's not in a theater, it's not streaming. It takes some level of commitment to care enough to go see these movies by unknown names of people. Like, it could be terrible, but you're committing your time to us. They're always my most favorite audiences. Like, I can't believe, like, I'm a filmmaker and I don't go to festivals as often, because I'm like, I don't have time for that, and it's like, there's such a committed audience and I love them all. So everybody who watched our movie, thank you so much. We are in the works of getting the movie out into the world. So, if you want to follow us on Instagram or Facebook or wherever, we're the MisEducation of Bindu. So when we're out, if you wouldn't mind telling your friend or your neighbor or your 13-year-old niece that this is a movie that is worth their time, we would really, really appreciate that. Thank you.
We are recording, and so we'll get the word out there. Kay, did you have anything else to add?
I just want to say, because a lot of people who come to film festivals and participate are filmmakers themselves, and oftentimes when they are at these film festivals, people ask filmmaking questions, and I hope our story about how long it took, but the tenacity of like getting it done. We always had this idea behind the project that it was inevitable, I think really made the difference in getting the film made. So I like to remind a lot of people that if you have a passion project, something that you really care about, start treating it as inevitable, this thing you have to get to. And I hope the same thing that happened to Bindu can happen to your projects. And so thank you so much for cheering us on, and I hope one day we get to cheer you guys on.
That's such a great point, Kay. Good work.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It was wonderful chatting with the two of you. I'm
Thank you,
so
Anita.
lucky
Appreciate it.
to have
Thank
done
you.
this. All right. And
Us too. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Best of luck.
Bye.
Bye.